4th, I had a couple of questions. I just want to make sure. Miles, did you?
I didn't have any comments, but
Okay. I just want to clarify. Under space needs 2, it says, C. Kendall said that Clark is going to bring over assessments for the boiler. Who is Clark?
Tom Clark?
Tom Clark, but no.
Wasn't it? Weren't we gonna check with Bobby and see if he had it?
Well, and Townsend, yes.
Okay, so.
So, I'm trying to think, I'm sorry. I think, actually, he might have honestly said that he would do that.
Tom?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
that doesn't mean, you know,
So I'm gonna just put the word Tom in there,
or T. Clark.
or T or something, so we know who it
Yeah.
is. All right. Okay, and then, resolved, okay. And then, it says that the board is scheduled to have a stormwater public hearing regarding the stormwater plan. It is 6:30 on Wednesday the 7th. Is that a CIP conflict?
It is, and CIP is meeting this week and will, it already knows that that's a conflict, and
Okay.
CIP will work around it.
Okay.
I already have another date scheduled.
Yeah, yeah, but it wasn't set as of that.
Right.
On the National Guard tent, is there any follow-up? It
No.
says, she said that we get more information.
Yes, so to follow up on that, they're, they don't apparently do that anymore, and nobody who currently works there is aware of them ever having done that.
Oh, okay, so it's not gonna happen.
That is not gonna happen.
Okay, I'm gonna put no longer. Does it? Okay, on it? Is that
Yep.
okay? Okay. And that's all I had. So with those modifications, is there consensus to approve?
Yep.
Okay, on those, we have consensus to approve that. And we can approve the July 8th, indicating that we would put the non-public in and outs at the end of it. That's the
Yeah.
only thing that's different, right?
Yep, you
Sure,
just
okay.
need those times.
Okay, is consensus to approve those as well? Okay, so motion. We have consensus on the July 8th ones as well. All right. Community input? Nelson, are you on the agenda?
I'm not on the agenda, I just popped in.
Oh,
I was in the neighborhoods.
okay.
You don't have to read it, just take a quick look at the map and pass it around, would you?
This is actually on the agenda, later.
For,
The owner of the property, where the Pony Bridge is located on Rollins Road that goes over the railroad is interested in restoring that bridge. The railroad won't allow it. They're looking for a letter of support from the select board, for the construction in hopes that that could sway the railroad in allowing them access to the property to restore the decking material to the historic bridge. It's one of, maybe the only pony bridges left in the state, or one of very few.
One of 3 left in New Hampshire. 4 in New England, counting those in New Hampshire, and 1 in Pennsylvania, and that's the ballgame.
The bridge goes over the railroad? Or?
The railroad, it's an overhead bridge that goes over the railroad. If I may just give a quick history, and I will make it quick. Yeah. The railroad, before the railroad came, there was Ham Road that was sparsely resided upon, and it ran from Fresh Brook down where Newitchwannock Path is, all the way to Rollins Road. today, and then the railroad came in the 1840s, so Ham Road, as it went from south to north, across the turnpike and Twombly Brook, the railroad, and then up to Rollins Road, passing through the acreage owned by Farmer Rollins. In 1919, the estate of the Rollins family was purchased by, well, the farmstead was purchased by Farmer Dodge, and it still retains the name now. I think this, one of the significant things is that there is no longer a named Ham Road. Ham Road that was asphalted between the turnpike and the brook, and Fresh Brook to the south, is now Old Mill Lane. And what exists from Twombly Brook up to Rollins Road is essentially a farm lane, but it once was a public thoroughfare. So, I mean, so I've made that point, and between, essentially between the Twombly Brook and the turnpike, you can see from aerial photographs, but you have to be Lewis and Clark to find a lot of it. It's just plumb disappeared. Let's see, I'm going to get to my question momentarily, I promise, but there was one other point I wanted to make. Oh, yes, in 1929, the railroad had to rebuild the bridge, and they acknowledged that not the private user, but the exclusive user at that point was Farmer Dodge. And because the road was no longer being used as a public thoroughfare, but the railroad acknowledged that despite his exclusive use, it was still a town road. The town did not maintain it. It did not plow it in the winter and so forth. So it essentially, I don't know if they used the term Class 6 in those days, but it was essentially a Class 6 road. So here's my question. Does the town still own the road? Is it indeed a Class 6 road in the town of Rollinsford, New Hampshire?
I think that's a really great question, and it would be difficult to discern that, but I think the primary way to discern that is that if it has not been officially declassified, then my guess is there's no reason to believe why it wouldn't still officially be a road.
Unless if I trot over to the county deeds office and I learn that the town deeded the road over to Farmer Dodge and whoever lived on the other side at the time, down toward the turnpike.
Yes.
I don't expect to find that.
Well, also, don't be confused by the fact that very old roads are very often owned by the property owners, which does not negate the fact that the state or the town has the right to traverse and maintain that area. So,
But that,
whether
we're
or
not
not
talking
the
about a
property
Class 6
owner,
road, though.
well, regardless of who owns it, it may still be a Class 6 road. We have Class 5 roads that are likely owned by property owners and not the town. It's hard to discern that with really old roads.
A sticky point. Because I know that a Class 6 road, which is owned by a town, can go down through a particular property owner's acreage. You know, it's Smith on this side, it's Smith on that side, but it's still a town Class 6 road. Because the
But
town
ownership
wants to
is a separate
maintain-
point.
Yeah, but the town wants to maintain the control of the road in that instance. So a great question, but we don't have a great answer to this evening. Is that the real?
I think that's the short answer. It would take some research, but I can look into the fact, to the question about whether or not it would have to be, my guess is it would have to be officially voted to be discontinued
Yes, I think.
in order for a road to just disappear. And if we cannot find evidence in town reports of such, then I would say it by de facto exists.
I found a copy, this is, I guess, marginally relevant, but I did find a letter because once upon a time when I was on the historical committee, we were interested in Indigo Hill Road. And I found a letter from the Somerswood selectmen, and by then Rollinsford was its own separate town, directing the property owner to discontinue maintenance on the Somersworth part of Indigo Hill Road. So, as I say, it's marginally relevant, but yeah. such records are useful, but I would like to, you know, I'd certainly like to know the answer, and I would suspicion the town would like to know the answer too, to, you know, whether the town owns that road or not.
Well, that you brought up an interesting point, because it may be, since the select board is authority over roadways, which is why you can impart ordinances and restrictions such as parking and commercial vehicles over roadways, that they may have the power, you know, through a process of public hearings to go from like a class 5 to a class 6 and such. I'm not sure where the distinction, where certain regulatory powers are within the governing body or the legislative body, so we can find that out.
Okay.
Because if it's in the select board minutes, either way, it's a research project, and it's not to be known in any kind of short order.
Okay. You may keep them out. It may resurface in 200 years, and they'll say that bozo got the north arrow, you know, it needs to be a few degrees more anti-clockwise. All right.
It'll be good to have for the file. I
So what should I do? Should I bring your phone off the hook daily, or just wait?
You know what you might do, if you have time, or if those you know care to have the time, is search the town reports for
Oh,
certain words such as
How?
discontinuance.
how far back does the town report go? I mean, I rearranged them in the vault years ago, but I don't remember that they went back all that far.
UNH has all but a small
Oh.
handful of them online, so.
From 1849 on?
Not necessarily every year, but most years. They've got 3 or 4 not present. So
Okay.
if you've got good software, or you can otherwise search PDFs, you can at least figure that out. That'll determine whether or not the town, through a town meeting, took any action. Separate to that, searching through select board minutes, you know, I don't want to give you a whole lot of real hope that that's going to happen anytime
Okay.
soon.
But I do, if this thing with, I'm not really an active member of this. I told them that, you know, I would do a few things. This is one of the few things, but it would be nice to know when they approach the railroad, because the railroad really does need, by prescription, to keep that bridge up if there's usage on both sides. If Farmer Rollins now wants to take cows across, or whatever he wants to do with it, you know, it certainly should be within his capacity to do that, and right now the state of the bridge is preventing that. So, but if it is a town road, I think that argument is strengthened, the more so.
You might also do well with certain people in town who have historic memories and know people with historic memories, because it's not something that would just happen by way of negligence. It would have taken an action, and so somebody might
Yes.
remember the action.
Yeah, it would have had to have been deeded over to the
Something.
property owner, I would say. Okay.
Thank you, Nelson.
Thank you. Delightful. Thank you, Chief.
Police department?
They have to go to the fire department, yeah, so.
Oh, okay.
you go first.
Thank you. Highway?
Give us a long-term ride tonight.
Part of the road project, Peel for pipe for gravel for 2,000, up to 2,000 for now.
Okay, I'll move purchase order 1626 to Pike Industries for up to $2,000 for gravel.
Okay, I'll second. Any discussion?
So this is the gravel that came out of the initial,
It's all part of this, yeah, it's still part of the shoulder work and stuff we gotta
okay. But that was, it was in the initial
do. It's in the quote,
bid,
yeah.
and this is just a, okay.
All right,
It'll probably be another one before we're done with this.
okay. All right, so purchase order 1626 to Pike Industries for $2,000. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And I got a PO for Sherwin-Williams for up to 1,500, which is the price for paint, line paint. So purchase the paint so we can do restriping.
All right, I'll
I don't know how many, the only reason why I put it up to the full amount is because I don't know exactly how much payment's gonna take in this year's, you know. We'll have an idea how much we need every year after that.
I'll move purchase order 1625 to Sherwin-Williams for up to $1,500 for striping paint.
Okay, I'll second it. What are you striping? What are you,
All the crosswalks, the handicap spots, everything
In town?
in town.
Oh,
okay, so,
They used to hire it out.
yeah, so are you gonna do, like you had, I think you had mentioned it previously, like arrows for your transfer station
Yeah, we
to
have.
keep people
Yeah.
We redo
going
all
in the
this,
right
yeah.
direction? Okay.
Yeah, I made some templates up, so.
I saw them, they were very nice. All right. All those in favor say aye?
aye. So you're not gonna stripe like Sligo?
Oh, no. I am not pushing a hand machine down the road.
Yeah, it's a walk behind machine, so. It's great for little short jobs, but.
There was no talk about doing the striping in town on this side roads or, and,
Yeah, I don't think we should.
I don't know
I
if that's.
prefer to dirt, to be honest.
We can bring it up, I mean, you know, we can bring it up to, traffic safety committee if it's a necessary evil, I don't know.
You have it on there before?
No.
I didn't think you did.
Not
It was striped, not Sligo,
Yeah.
I don't know, you can't stripe that, road ain't wide enough to be striped. But, I mean, you got Bear Road and a few other roads that haven't been restriped in years, and I don't know what you guys will do with that, so that's just a whole new ballgame. I don't even know what that would cost. Haven't looked into it, but, you know. But as you know, the paving is done, they came in under the tonnage, so I don't know how that's gonna be reflected by the time the final bill is here, but we're gonna be using some of it to do some, swales and stuff down on Sligo to keep it warm.
Good, the roads look great.
Yeah.
I went
They came out
over
with
through
it.
Heritage and Sligo and they look great, so.
I wish they
Sure,
would
they're
have picked a
happy.
little bit warmer day to do it.
Yeah, it was a little tiny warm, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so,
They must be used to it, I don't know, but, yeah.
So they did have, on Friday, two of the young guys for Pike did go down with heat exhaustion.
Oh, really?
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, they're okay, but,
Yeah,
yeah, it was pretty hot, so.
yes, it was.
So, anything for me?
No, I don't think so. I had something, now I can't remember what it was.
I got a call on the answering machine from Nan Heath at reference Church Street again, complaining about the runoff on, there's no storm drains on Church Street, that whole area. And her parking lot gets washed out. Actually, I took a ride by there tonight when it was raining pretty good, and she does get it all from the looks of it. But, we need to either put a swale across the whole front of that driveway to keep the water on town property, or that whole stretch. Gotta do something there, other than going into the storm drainage. That's the quick way out would be to put a swale and keep the water going down the side of the road instead of through the property. But she's got a pretty good run down to her yard. People are bottoming out going in the driveway and stuff, so
That's
it's been an ongoing complaint since I've been here.
former sportsman?
The old sportsman club, I believe.
Mhm.
So, I mean, just take a ride by, you can see it needs,
Yeah.
you know, definitely needs to be something done there, and
they
stuff
have
we
a-
can do, so,
They were a problem in the wintertime too.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's all to the water.
So if you do a swill there, that's where they drive in and out, though?
Right, but I mean, well, we could just raise it up
Okay,
and have the water run towards, you know, instead of a swing, make it flat,
okay.
and then continue, put some gravel on the back to smooth it out so they can get in it without having, you know, just raise it to keep the water running in the ditch side of the road instead of,
Is that something that you guys
Oh,
could
yeah.
do? Oh, okay, all right.
but it's something we need to look at, so.
Okay, so I went down Cricket Lane to look at the situation. Cricket Lane, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
Cricket Lane. So you're talking about the big circle in the middle there with the trees, and what they're doing is they're putting their leaves there, which is causing that problem, right?
That's part of the problem,
Okay,
yeah.
is there a drain in there too?
I
Okay,
believe that's-
Underneath all those
Foundation told me
leaves.
there is this drain
Okay.
in the center there somewhere, and
so is that something that we're gonna be considering doing, or
we're gonna clean it out as soon as we get a chance.
you're gonna clean out the
Yeah,
sub,
and then
okay,
find out what else we can do down there.
Okay, so at this point, didn't we talk about we call it a soil? Didn't we talk about that there
Again,
as
we may
well?
end up doing something to that too,
Okay.
but we gotta see what, you know.
Find out what you got first, and then you're
What
gonna
we
come
got
back to
left.
us. Okay, that's fine. I just went down to look and see if I could totally understand what it was, and, you know, I saw a big pile of
Part of it's in
something.
the middle and part
Yeah.
of it's at the bottom of the circle.
The sign should
like,
be here.
If you go,
I ordered signs, no dumping, and
Yep.
that step all should be here Wednesday, cool, I'm gonna ship them, thing today.
So which house is getting the water? Is it the water?
Way down on the bottom of the last one, and on
The-
on the right.
On the right, when you're looking, it's on the right, there.
Right.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I
Well,
wasn't.
you can see the driveway goes downhill.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I thought it was too. Okay, all right, that's all I
All
got.
right. We're gonna head up to the house.
Do you guys have a refrigerator in your,
We do.
do you have a big refrigerator?
Well, somewhere you go.
I mean, I want to bring down some Gatorade and water for the gentleman on the side. I brought them down some Saturday, there was only 2 of them there. So, but I
Three.
brought,
I was there.
Where were you?
I was around there somewhere.
Oh, I didn't see you.
Oh.
I was just talking to the 2
Oh,
guys.
Yeah, somebody brought this, somebody brought water down, because
It was me.
I got one of them, so, oh, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, but I'd like to bring some to
Yeah.
have down on the really hot days.
Yeah, we got,
Yeah.
we got,
Bring
yeah.
it, can I bring them to the highway? They have
Yeah.
access to the highway?
Yep,
Oh, yeah, they,
I'll
they're
bring some
right.
down.
there's a little small refrigerator at the transfer station, and there's a bigger one at the highway.
Okay.
We got a full size refrigerator.
Okay, I'll bring some down, you
Yeah,
guys and
sure.
the transfer guys. Okay, all right, very good.
Right.
I'll have it this evening.
Good night.
Thank you, good night. Are you both going to
Yeah.
the fire station? Good. All right, police?
Good evening. Short and sweet day. The select board back in January had initially approved and put together an entertainment license for the American Legion. Well, they since lost it in the transition of folks down there, so we're looking to get the select board to re-sign it if you would, so I can send that out to them.
They lost it not for any reason, but they
No,
lost it
they-
because
they-
someone
just 'cause
didn't
you
catch
lost
it.
it, yeah.
So they
They're-
have to refile, okay.
Correct.
All right,
Yeah, so I'll make a motion that we issue a dance and entertainment license to the American Legion.
I'll second it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Do you want me to change the date to be
Pardon me?
today's date? You want me to change the date to be today's date? It
No,
says 1/9/19.
effective for the beginning of the year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
The American Legion is looking to host a cornhole tournament next month down there. And they were told by someone from the town to contact us. We have no regulations for that, and there's no need for them to request or apply for and receive a separate entertainment license, because it's really not entertainment, it's just they're putting together this event outside. They've spoken with the folks at the Liquor Commission, who would really regulate this more than we would. And from what they've told me, that they have no problem with that, or the state has no problem with that, but the state will be looking just for a letter from the town of Rawls saying, we have no problem with that. So, with your permission, I prepared a letter dated today. It said the town of Rawls and the Rawls Police Department have any issues with the American Legion Post 47 holding a cornhole tournament at their location, as long as you have satisfied any and all requirements as set forth by the State of New Hampshire Liquor Commission.
So what you're saying is it's gonna be outdoors, and they're going to be selling liquor outdoors, it sounds like?
Yes.
Okay,
In,
so,
I assume a designated.
Right, the
Area.
designated area across the street, we've already had discussion with them about prohibiting alcohol from going across the public way, going down to the town boat launch, things like that.
okay, so you've got it all,
Hopefully.
okay, okay. All right.
I don't think we need a motion if we're both signing it,
Okay.
right? Yeah, I think that's
As long as we're,
what Mike.
consensus says we're approving it,
Yes.
and we'll let it go with that.
And the last item is, I'm hoping to meet with the folks in Townsend later this week. I planned on meeting with Mike last week, but we had a priority in town, so I wasn't able to meet with him.
so that we can once and finally find out and get a list from them as to what service and maintenance they've done in all of our units downstairs, all of the HVAC systems as well as the furnace.
Awesome,
So hopefully at the next select board meeting, I'll have something to present to you.
because that's what
So-
Dick was looking for, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
I did meet with Dick Fortier and had a brief discussion with him. He was supposed to come down to the PD last week to meet with me, to show me things and whatnot, things that he had found. They could visit the schools in town, but tomorrow when Rich is here, Dick will come down and meet with the two of us
He
and show
seems-
us what he showed Caroline.
He seems to think our furnace has a lot longer life than
Than
they
we were
indicated.
initially
Yeah.
told, yeah. Well, the salesperson did tell us that, we should get, a couple more years out of that anyways. The service people that, and our insurance carrier actually, because the insurance carrier sees the big blowhole in the sign, but that's, but that's just really like outer covering. That's to, that's prevent a fire from outside of it should something internally fall apart and explode a little bit, so. Yeah, so.
Once he gets a look at the maintenance and stuff, he might change his mind too, who knows? But at this point, we're waiting for that so he can review them and give us a better understanding.
Yeah.
Good, thank you for doing that.
That's all that I have for you folks. Anything for us? Perfect.
No, thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you, you too. Fire.
Your rec person is up there getting CPR right now.
Thank you. I sent a
So that's-
reminder today.
Yeah, she's there.
They're
George
gonna be
and his
coming
folks
soon,
are headed
yeah.
up there. I don't know, it's 24 people up there.
Nice.
Nice,
Getting
good.
inserted and refreshed and everything, so.
For doing that.
So we got that all squared away, and that's good, a big hurdle for us. Done. Got a couple things in here, I'll give them to you after, but I got a pile. Purchase orders to go through and get squared away here. Okay, first one. 1655. It's to Devin Duke's monogrammers, it's for department uniforms. Had so many new employees coming on lately and rotating around that we didn't have any of the larges and extra larges. So we went down and purchased and augmented what we do because the fire department does at least apply them with the department polos that you see us on. And we're doing training and whatnot. Part of our issued stuff whenever we're outside training and whatnot is what we're going to be wearing. So the purchase order again, 1655 Devin Dukes for $224.82. All right, that was for 10 polos.
I'll move purchase order 1655 to Devin Duke's monograms for $224.82 for 10 department polo shirts.
And that's from the uniform line item, and there's plenty of funds in there.
Yeah. I second it, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Give it to you, and she can take a peek. Okay.
Okay, the next one I have is number 1619, and it's for it's Fire Safety USA. And it was for some materials that we need. One thing we try to do with our engines and our equipment is, because they're not always going to the same place, we've had instances where one engine's at a call here or a fire here, and we don't mimic the same equipment on each truck. So what we're trying to do is to get to that point. When we went to the fire a couple, 3 weeks ago in Elliott at the Sweet Dirt, the marijuana municipal incident there, we found out there was some things that were on engine 1 that engine 2 needed. Because we were doing a drafting operation and a supply, a rural supply type thing. So in order to make things, both engines were working that way. We're not there to make them equitable with the same amount of equipment, so that we're not swapping or when it's a critical component that we needed. So we had to go out and order a few things, and that's what this is covering, is the fact that we needed a barrel strainer, which goes on the end of a hard suction line. You know what that is, obviously. So we don't say we're drawing out of a river or a lake, going up, picking up frogs and leaves and rocks and dirt. we needed one of those, we needed a floating strainer for the same kind of thing, and then some adapters to hook these lines to the engine. So what we did is we had to go out and buy these things, we did. The reason why, I gave you that background, it's for $751.75 for needed equipment. But what happens now is we have the same equipment on engine one, we have the same equipment on engine two. So if we're split and going some places, everything's right there, and these guys can start learning where and what it is.
Great.
I'll move purchase order 1619 to Fire Safety USA for $751.75 for equipment.
There you go. And that comes out of the equipment line item, again, plenty of funds in there to cover those needed equipment.
I'll second it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
You all set?
Next up, State of New Hampshire for Department of Safety. This is tuition for firefighter one classes for a couple of our members. It's coming out of the training line item, and again, it's within the Cleveland firefighter one. We have, what have I got? 5 guys right now that are in the EMT. And then this guy is going to start his, 2 weeks he starts his level 1 class, and the other guy's at the fire academy right now doing his recruit school at the fire academy, which are all the options that you can have for getting yourself certified. The guy that's jumping into the academy by far is the best. In 2 months you come out with everything that you need. It's high intensity, it's on the grounds, he lives in the barracks, he basically committed 2 months of his own time to be up there. So some of this is covering that at $16.54 for their needed tuitions up front.
I'll move purchase order 1654 to the state of New Hampshire for $800. I thought you said it was a different number than 800. No?
No?
Oh, okay, sorry. $800 for firefighter 1 tuition.
It is different where you go to get different classes, they charge you differently.
Yeah, I think you said the purchase order number. And I thought-
Probably
Yes.
did.
Okay, so purchase order 1654, I second it. So the one that's staying at the academy, are we paying for that, or is he paying for that?
He's paying for it now. But I had to front $400 so he could at least get himself enrolled and be done. And then once he gets done, he hands me a certificate, like I say, we'll reimburse the rest of it.
Okay, so what is this for then? This is for that? Like, isn't it
It's
in
for the-
addition to firefighter 1?
Nope, that's kind of like,
This is just it?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
it's for the one at the academy, and then there's another guy starting as a satellite class, which is going to be held in Rye. Starts on
Oh, okay.
August 6th or
So
something.
this is 2 people?
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Okay. Can I just put on there 2 people?
Sure. I got the names on there. It says Poth and Roy right on the top.
Oh, that's their names?
Yes.
I thought it was a code of something.
No.
All right, then, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
No codes. I try not to do that. Try to be very transparent. Last one I have is for you guys, this City of Dover for repair work on the forestry. It had a transmission leak, so obviously with that, we weren't going anywhere. We had to replace a serpentine belt. So this is $16.53 purchase order is going to come out of vehicle repairs, total of $624 to get basically get the vehicle back up and running.
I'll move purchase order 1653 to the city of Dover for $624.19 for transmission work and serpentine belt and forestry 1.
Okay, I'll second that. Did you have more info? No?
Well, you can sign that one off and then I'll expound on that a little bit about the forestry,
Oh, okay, but not about this invoice?
not about that
Okay.
individual
All
purchase
those
order.
in
no.
favor say aye.
Aye.
Most of our trucks are doing very well, except the forestry. In the past 3 months, it's gobbled up $2,500 out of vehicle repair. replace all the brake lines. Transmission line is gone, serpentine went away, and there's problems with the frame with it starting to rust. To the point where they've done some repairs before because we added new springs and whatnot a few years ago, so we get further off-road. But it's basically getting to the point where I'm just passing on to you guys, because we presented at CIP come Thursday, right?
Thursday.
So this is the pickup truck
Yeah,
that,
it's an 03.
that we bought used, right?
I don't know.
Yes.
Yes,
I-
this used to be Route 4's pickup truck,
Yeah, yeah,
which it
yeah,
made him do that.
yeah, however all that went down.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
it's not the forestry you used to have that we got.
Oh, no,
No,
no, it's not the one
that's
that.
it, and then you
that-
put
that
something
Harry had
inside.
gotten, he
Yeah.
bought that, yeah, and that went
Down in
away for the same
Pennsylvania.
thing.
Yeah,
Had a lot of issues and it wasn't worth putting the money into that
Right.
rig. Plus, it wasn't really set up to be a forestry on that type of thing, where this became more available and better to do what we wanted to.
Mhm. And then you put a slide in.
It does,
Yeah,
as the sliding
like a
unit,
tank,
yeah,
yeah.
and that's gonna be fine. I mean, basically, the vehicle is falling apart underneath, it's a skid
Mhm.
unit.
Mhm.
So as we go down the road and head to replacement, the skid unit comes out and goes into whatever the new
Whatever you
vehicle.
buy. Okay.
That is something that's completely transferable, there's no cost to fit in any size of the bed that we have to get,
Okay.
so we're good on that part. It's just the vehicle itself is starting to fall apart. I just want everybody to be aware that it's like every week we're finding something wrong. One thing that we have that helps us is we have one guy on the department now, his name's Colin Rose. He's certified mechanic, he works at the Honda garage over on Dover Point, and he's fixed a lot of stuff for us. Monday night, he'll come in, we had exhaust leaks, he fixed that. He replaced part of a muffler on the back that was falling apart. So he's able to help us with some of these things. Some of it, he just doesn't have the tools we put at the station. So we have to ship it over to Sam. But just to let you know, that it's an 03. And,
As I recall, it doesn't have very many miles, but
Never do,
When you-
none of our
right, when
trucks
you're not
really have a
driving.
lot of miles. Never do, it's the hours, because we'll drive at 5 miles and we'll sit and pump and do things for 10 hours.
yep.
Is always our issue with these rigs, so. And this one's just basically, it's an 03, it's just starting to show its age, it's going on 20 years old. We've got most of what we can get out of it, so we'll work through on that part. These are all, I'm gonna put them in the envelope, trade. And there's one more in here that's,
Under the table.
what's this one for? This was for the forestry too. They had to put an exhaust gasket on it that Colin couldn't do, so it had to go over there. We bought the parts to pieces, but he couldn't get the bolts off. Typically, like on the exhaust work heats up, you gotta heat them themselves to break them, so I had to go over to Sam so he could take care of that. So that was another one, but it's not gonna be on the purchase order side of things. Secondly, that I'm gonna put in here, Caroline, Josh Hoffman, this is his paperwork. I think I told you that he had joined us.
Excellent.
This is all his needed stuff, his I-9W4, his copies of his stuff. So that's all in there for you with the other needed
Excellent.
information.
Very good.
Okay.
Welcome back, right? You used to be on.
Josh started with us
Yeah.
22 years ago.
Yeah.
He started in Elliott, he came to Rollinsford, he got his time in, got some training, made himself marketable. He went over to Dover, he's been there for going on 23 years. And one of them guys that didn't forget where he came from, so
Yeah.
he circled back. He's up there right now helping teach CPR because he's an instructor. So we're already using some of the skills that he has from next door to help us out. The other thing was, is Josh and I used to run the CTC program that was running out of the fire station for the high school, for high school kids to get certified in their level 1. And so he just wanted to get back to the teaching of things. He brings such a heap of knowledge and skills to help a lot of the new folks that we have that want to follow the path that he's done. So he's an asset. He can drive, he can pump, he can do everything that we need to have done. So
Absolutely.
I couldn't say no. We'll find
Absolutely.
a home for you.
Yeah,
So that's his pick.
Very good.
very good.
And Thursday night, Sean will be here
Okay.
with the CFP because I have to be out of town Thursday and Friday. So I'm gonna brief him a little bit when I get back there. He knows where we're going and got all the paperwork lined up for him, so he'll make the presentation and we'll go.
Good.
Okay?
We'll take it easy.
Sorry, you go for it, because I'm not worried about Sean at all. He'll do fine. He'll do fine. So he knows, you'll see it when you see the paperwork, and we'll explain to you some of what we're doing. And you're already on board because we've had the discussion.
If you have any paperwork that you can submit ahead of time.
We have done that.
You did that,
I don't know if it came to you, do you need it?
Yeah, it would be.
I think a lot of it might have went to Suzanne.
Oh, okay.
She's the chairperson, right?
She's the chair.
We sent her some PDF files on some of the information that she can peruse through on air filling station, which is the top of our list.
Yeah.
Extrication equipment, which is now kind of slid as a priority to the top of the list. So we have sent some of that stuff. Sean grabbed some of the files and sent it off so that she
Okay.
can review some of that stuff. If you want me to have it get sent to you,
Yeah, if you
I'll talk
wouldn't,
to
yeah,
her.
if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
It's just, it's useful to,
Oh, yeah, so
And then
you
we
have
can
a
send it to the
background.
whole committee, and the whole committee can read a little bit before the meeting.
Who's the whole committee? I don't even
Kevin,
know all the players anymore. It changes all the time.
Do we have a CIP
it's,
email?
Kevin Haynes representing planning, and Suzanne representing budget, and Miles, and I, and Judy Nelson representing the school.
But is there a
Oh.
CIP that we just send it to one email and
no,
everyone
I
will
don't
get it?
think we do.
There is a
Oh, there
group email
Oh,
address.
right, yes, there is.
And I believe it's CIP committee, but it pops up automatically, so I wouldn't wanna
I
say that.
can potentially tell you.
I could potentially tell you.
Let's see who could do it first.
It is CIP committee at rollinsford.nh.us.
There you go.
So they will be, everyone will get it if
They
you
know,
send it to
you'll
that.
send it to the whole committee.
CIP committee?
Uh-huh.
All one word?
Yes,
CIP committee
Mhm.
yes.
at rollinsfordnh.gov.
.nh.us.
Busy sending emails late in the day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I know,
sorry.
Tia must have it, 'cause she's
Yes, she can find that.
the,
Yeah.
she's the other one that takes care of all that stuff for us. I received a template today for, that we had requested for,
Mhm.
so there's all my stuff right there.
Good.
I'm gonna work on that.
Good. Let me know if you need help.
Yeah, there hasn't been a date set for that yet, we're still figuring that part out.
The select board wants budgets in by the 5th. They're gonna talk later tonight about when they're gonna ask
That was
departments
15.
to present.
So that's 15.
Could be.
You want it by the
Check your
15th?
email.
Yeah, it's in your email.
It's in your
somewhere.
email.
Go
I
back
thought it
and
was the
look. Yeah.
15.
Yeah, that sounds.
But they have
fine.
not decided on presentation
Okay,
dates.
that's fine,
I thought it was the 5th and they're coming back on the 12th for
I'm almost done anyway.
like an extra meeting or something.
Good. We're ahead of schedule than we used to do it, so
Yeah, we'll have to
it's all good.
add that somewhere in budget schedule.
I don't know if you saw my return email about that technical review committee.
Thank you. Yes.
That representation, probably myself, but we'll see, you know, Sean wants to do that. So we'll see who does it, but we will have somebody here for that day.
That would be great, thank you.
Yep.
Is that it?
Anything else for the fire department?
Yep.
I think we're good. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
All right. Nice to see Pete all over us, isn't it? We lucked out, we didn't have to go anywhere for those 2 days. It's not good when it's like that.
Yeah.
All right, have a good evening, thank you.
Thanks, you too. Do we have anything for welfare? We're gonna do it in non-public?
We should do it in non-public,
At
but
the
you have
end of it?
non-public at the end, so we can
End,
add it to the
okay.
end.
So we'll wait to do non-public to the end, all right? Space Needs Committee, I have received only one person that is looking to serve.
There are a couple of other potentials
Okay, I
Um,
haven't been a member.
that maybe you didn't see, and I'm not sure if you have the same person, so,
Art Thomas.
okay, so he emailed the board, Charlie George would like to be on the committee.
Oh, I didn't hear from Charlie. but
Okay, so he might have sent that just to me.
Okay,
So,
okay.
And then, someone else asked for the charge
Was John
today.
Thomas.
Ron-
Yeah,
Okay.
Somebody else asked me for the charge today and is
Okay.
thinking about it, so
okay,
you may have a third.
all right.
What did we ask for, 5?
Four. So I'm hoping we have 3 and then we'll just need one more.
Okay. All
So
right.
I think we can do it. I'm
Well, that's good news. So, yeah. So you'll get back to me or have them get in touch with me?
yes.
Okay.
should we appoint the ones?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, you might do that if you, or, and.
Well, I wasn't gonna reply until I knew we had a committee to have. That was the thing. I only heard about one. So
Right,
I
okay.
wasn't gonna say,
Yeah.
yes, you're on it, and then you're the only one. So, I
Well,
mean,
okay, so I can, we can put it on the next agenda to do appointments and,
I'll reply that I'm waiting for the other three names, you know, but consider yourself
yeah.
on at this point until you hear
But
from
we'll
me.
be
when we'll have the
officially
next
committed
day.
at the
Yeah.
next, yeah.
Yeah,
that's
okay,
fine.
I'll just reply so he knows I got it. Is that That's what I thought. All right, so, all right. Shared Facilities Director?
There's not an update on that because he went on vacation and I went on vacation and we're swapping and I'm not sure if he's back now that I'm back or if he just went out, I'm not sure. So
Okay.
I'm waiting to hear back from him. He's going to be providing us a report with his findings, so I will forward that along when I get it. I'm not sure how immediately that'll happen because he's, as much as he was gonna try to make this a one-day evaluation, he's been in here for little bits of time frequently, and he's taken some reading material home, and he's, I think, committed a lot more time than he thought he would because it's his bailiwick and he's interested. So I don't know when we'll hear from him, hopefully soon.
Okay.
Is he doing this on his own time or the school?
He's doing, well, he's salary, he's
Oh,
he's
okay.
doing it on school time.
Okay.
I'm sure if it gets excessive, then we'll be
He's
having a
reporting
we'll
to
get
his
conversations.
superiors all
Yeah.
of his time,
Yeah.
so at some point it will be the end, and we'll have to. go
Or we'll
back.
have to do something with money.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. Police consultant?
it only happened late this afternoon, but we received a contract. I forwarded it to you. I don't expect that you necessarily had time to read it. There is a copy here in paper form in case you're ready to sign it. I have not fully read it. Miles did find at least one typo.
I think I did too. It was at the beginning, right?
TWO instead of 2L. It's not that big of a deal.
So these people that has finally come forward, I mean, how trustworthy are they that they'll do what they say they're gonna do? Because it took them so long to respond to our request for a
Well,
proposal.
so they want different payments. So you have payments to hold over them for information. And then, you know, they do have sample reports on their website indicating that they do produce work. Whether or not it's gonna be as timely as we want it to be, I'm not completely confident about that either. I can only hope that having a signed contract and a deposit will help motivate them.
Okay. Do you want to defer it till next week, or the next meeting? So we have time to read it in full?
Yeah,
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 I'm thinking too, I'm not really prepared to sign something that I haven't really thoroughly looked at. So if we can put it in the next agenda, okay. And you can tell them that, you know, we've got it later, and they can have time to review it, and we'll get back to them. Okay,
Will do.
thank you. Eversource proposal?
Okay, so they exist. I have them. There is one here on top. Should you want to do everything together, you can fill it out yourself to be the aggregate of all of them separately. But otherwise, we have separate contracts for each of the facilities. It has the quote sheet on the front, which is about, you know, the synopsis of how the money works.
okay.
One for each facility, and then under that is the contract, which is the same as this contract here, but filled out for each facility. So doing each of the 4 contracts, or doing 3 of the 4, you know, you could do the separate contracts, or you can do it this way. I don't think there's an advantage of doing it one way over another way, except that if you wanted to handle, you asked for them to be broken down because you can handle them differently if you want to. For the smaller facilities, you can choose to pay up front if you want for the cost in order to reap the benefit more immediately.
Okay, can we get copies of these? So we
Yes,
can review
it's-
them and
it
then bring it
only-
up at the next meeting as well?
Yeah,
Because
that
it's
only
just
just
too much
happened.
to,
Absolutely.
Yeah, this
I want to make sure we really understand what we're
is,
signing.
Yep,
It,
So this gives you the price of what it is, the total price that we're gonna be paying, and it's gonna give us the option of how paying it back.
The
through
front
your-
page is the breakdown.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
so I forwarded to you, I think last week, the sort of blank contract, for language.
Mhm.
And then these came in all separately after that.
Okay, so, and we found out that we can do this without having a warrant or something because of the payback, because it's still, you're paying back through your line that you were already establishing in your budget anyway for years.
You can.
Yes, okay. That's what I thought you said.
yeah, we can,
Mhm.
that would be
Okay.
awesome.
Do you have them electronically that you can
I
forward them
do.
to? Great. All right, so we'll put it, that is,
Do you want these?
Yeah, I'll take those. Do you want a paper copy?
I can print them,
Oh, okay.
I can print them at work, so.
Fancy
yeah.
of a printer?
At work.
I don't go to the office anymore.
Okay. RWSD concerns. Okay, so, as you, I asked for that to be put on because the select board is being called out many times on social media about helping with the problem with the Romswood Water District. And I don't know what we can and cannot do, and that's what we need answers on. Because they're pleading to us that they are not getting answers from commissioners. And the commissioners are, they are not following the law. They're having meetings without postings, they're having non-public that shouldn't be non-public, and they need to be called out on it. And at least one person knows better, bottom line. The other two are fairly new at this, I think, but one of them knows better. So what can we do?
I will contact Legal Inquiries about what the town's role could be. It's, this facility, you are ratepayers.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a role that way, and also, you know, the residents of the district are all residents of this town. So you have a right to care in that way. Whether or not you have any statutory authority, I would say mostly not. But that being said, if you have evidence of something that needs to be brought to light, then I would say it's well within your right as citizens and select board members to do that.
And what is our, what action can we do? I mean, they're meeting behind closed doors on and it's not a non-public issue. They're looking at firms to come and run the plant. That's not a non-public. And it's not posted, and it's a non-public clearly, because they're not posting it to let people know it's happening. So they're also meeting several times as a group, and they know that two people constitute
A quorum.
a quorum, and they're meeting and they're not listening to people. So what can we do about that? The people have a right to know, and they're violating the right to know law. So what can we do there? Ask that question to legal.
I will ask that question. It may be more than I know it to be.
Mhm.
So,
But the residents need to know what their rights are, and they're calling out for the selectmen to do.
and if there's nothing else, then perhaps we can at least provide information about,
Right, what
avenues
actions
they
they
can
can
do.
take,
yeah.
if we can't take it as any action. But they feel like they can do whatever they want to do without anybody telling them anything, so.
That one email that we got earlier today
Yeah,
was horrifying.
it was horrifying.
She sent photos of her water that comes out,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
I
it's.
don't
this is-
understand it. I don't
Yeah.
know why she's getting iced tea out of her.
Yeah, exactly, and she has a young child,
Mhm.
very young. And don't seem to be getting any action on that. The superintendent is trying his best, but he gets, I think,
Yes,
told he can't do things and not his job to do things, and so, he only can do what,
well, and the fix for that issue is really a bond.
now, that was the thing that they were, at the last meeting that I went to, they were talking about, this is something that we can't do until March. Isn't there a way to have an emergency funding?
Absolutely. You have to petition the
This
court.
is clearly an
Well-
emergency on Willie Street, at least. It's Locust, Willie, and Prospect, right?
Yes.
Is the main issue.
It's mostly Willie, but it is those
Mostly
other
Willie.
places too, which includes the school, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. So isn't there a way that they can get emergency approval and and apply for emergency funding of some sort? Through the state or
Absolutely.
through, can you get a bond, emergency bond?
Sure.
So
You have to have.
saying they have to wait till March is not a correct answer. But it's because they don't believe it's an emergency, that's the problem. But enough people in this town do believe it is. But it would have to be a special hearing, and it would have to, all of those kinds of
Well,
steps to
so
do
bonds
that.
are a heavy lift. They take a
Mhm.
lot of work, they take a lot of time.
Mhm.
They would have to hire help
Mhm.
for getting that to happen.
Yeah,
In addition to petitioning the Superior Court for the right for a special and, district meeting
Mhm.
to authorize them to
pursue that,
pursue that.
yeah.
So, it's a lot of work.
But, they have no problem buying a pickup truck that wasn't in their budget, and and cell phones that wasn't in their budget. So I don't know if they got that or not, but maybe the money they had for that, they can apply towards this. I mean, they might even be able to do a portion of it, depending on what, they find, but I don't think they're looking, that's the problem.
What was the cost of,
Well, the whole thing was $1 million too.
It's gonna, between 800 and 1.2.
Yeah.
And it depends on how they do it and whether that, they do that whole horseshoe shape or
Yeah.
just, one section. It
Well,
makes
I think
sense.
that was just Willie, wasn't it?
It might be.
Yeah.
It might be, I don't
I went to
recall.
the presentation by the
Engineering.
engineering firm.
Oh, okay.
The total was 1.2, but I think they're, by doing some lesser things, I think strictly, Willie was really the topic of conversation at that meeting, but, something needs to be done. People can't wait till March for that, I don't know what, I just feel for them, and that part of it seems isolated. I don't have discoloration in my water, do you?
No, it's because Willie Street is in this
Yeah,
gully,
yeah.
and so whether you flush it this way or flush it that way, it's really hard to
Mhm.
flush it completely, so it's got, it's these old cast iron pipes that forever have had water sitting in them, and so they've got a lot of degradation on the inside.
And the superintendent tried to show the commissioners a photo of it, and they refused to look at it that night, which was alarming in itself. But, all right, so you'll find out what
I will-
action that
I
we
will
can
get more
take on
information.
behalf of the residents of the town, and I appreciate it.
I wanna, just bring up a point though, that, we can ask legal inquiries hypothetical situations,
Mm-hmm.
hypothetical questions. They work for their membership. We are members. It might get sticky for them, and I'm not sure how much they're gonna give us answers in that the water sewer district are also members. So, you know, we have to keep it very hypothetical, and if we get into too much detail, they may recuse themselves, in which case you're gonna be into private town council for answers. So we'll see, I'll
Okay.
broach the topic, I just
Okay.
wanna, I'm not sure that I'm gonna get really far with it.
Okay. That just throws a big monkey wrench right into it, with the residents that are dealing with this.
But if you keep it hypothetical, and abstract with, village districts within towns, holdings in towns,
Okay.
they should be able to answer some
All right.
hypothetical
All right,
questions, so
let's see
I
what
will
we can,
try it that
let's
way.
see what we can get. Thank you. All right, do you have any other questions on that?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right, August 5th meeting conflict. They are holding, the library's holding that water meeting, or not meeting, but
Forum.
informational. And
Yep.
as a resident, I would like to go.
Mhm.
Are you willing to go to a Tuesday or hold our meeting down there and?
Yeah, I think, so.
Tuesday's planning.
Great, and
What's that?
Tuesday's the planning board.
Oh, okay, well, we can.
You can do Wednesday, or you can do,
We could try
or
to
you
have
can
our
do it
meeting
early or
before
something.
and after and
Yeah,
whatever,
how
and have it
long
done
do we
there.
expect that to take, or we don't know, because
I would think at least an hour and a half or 2 hours.
Yeah,
I was thinking it might be better, okay, so is our stormwater public hearing on the 7th?
Yes. We can also,
So we could do it that night, move select board to the.
you can do it
7th.
after the stormwater public hearing.
Yeah.
the CFP is meeting as well, right?
No,
No, that
CIP's
got-
not, CIP's
that got moved.
rescheduling.
Oh,
So-
okay.
I just haven't posted the rescheduling,
Oh.
but that'll be fine. It's a little bit of it's hard to tell what the turnout and question answer period would be for the stormwater public hearing. Often nobody shows up. If people show up with questions, it could go on.
When is the highway safety committee meeting?
The following Tuesday.
No, it's
No,
the
it's-
30th.
Sorry,
when
next
I'm on
Tuesday is
vacation.
what I mean, yeah.
It's Tuesday?
Yes,
The
Can you do
30th.
Tuesday, Miles, that week?
Next,
of 30th next week.
Yeah.
no, that's the highway safety.
'Cause
Oh,
he's-
you're on it?
Yeah,
Oh, okay, Harry is too.
yeah.
So he's coming home for it, so I thought I could loop him in.
Oh,
That's what I was thinking, I could come
But you
over
could
then.
do Monday night next week, or Wednesday night next week. I don't think
I'm
there's
gone.
anything Wednesday night next week.
Next week is my vacation.
Oh,
So we're
sorry.
coming
All right,
home,
all right.
so we can go to the
I see,
highway
I
safety
see.
meeting.
Oh,
Sorry,
okay.
okay.
So I think we should shoot for, I'm just worried that, the forum, so if we were able to meet, what time is the forum supposed to start?
6:30.
6:30, so if we met at 5:30 at the library, took a break at 6:30 and then resumed and went till
Yeah,
midnight.
well, hopefully not. But, okay, do you think you can do 5:30?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, all right, so we'll change the meeting on the 5th to 5:30 at the library. Can you make 5?
I can do 5.
You want to do, well, I can be there by 5.
Okay.
You want to do 5? All
Yeah,
right.
just to make
Can
sure
you be
we
there at
go.
5?
I can.
Okay, let's do 5, that will give us an hour and a half, and maybe our agenda won't be huge,
You can try to manage it,
Yeah.
table what can be
Yeah,
tabled.
okay. And then we'll meet at the library, and then we'll proceed after their presentation is over.
Okay.
All right, sounds good.
Okay.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, recreation budget timeline. I told Caroline that it's really tight for us, the recreation department, to have their budget to the deadline. I thought it was the 15th, because I'm on vacation next week, and then Kelly's on vacation for the next 2 weeks, which would be hard. So if we could just like defer it for another week for rec, we can work on the others that have been submitted to department heads and then fit them in somewhere. As soon as I get, I'm gonna work with Dee on budget Thursday, but we only do Raleigh, Kelly does Keene. So, you know, we'll get it to you as soon as we can, and then,
I don't have an issue with that. I think we'll
Okay.
have enough to,
to
Work
get
with
going on, and then as soon as we get it ready.
I mean, you know, whether it was the 5th or the 15th, I think was a request, whether or not we'll,
Okay,
yeah.
so we'll get it, like I said, we'll get it as soon as we can, but yeah, great, I appreciate that, all right. Okay. SRPC vacancies, I just saw that.
I sent you an email today, it was a forward from the Stratford Regional Planning Commission that we now have 2 vacancies because Mike was holding one of those spots. So, they are looking for 2 people to be appointed representing Rollinsford. They do not have to be public officials of any kind. So that doesn't have to happen tonight. They just want people involved in regional transportation and policies regarding regional transportation.
Can we put something out through the advertising that we have 2 positions? Miles, are you interested in being on one of them?
I wouldn't mind, but as I recall, they meet.
Friday mornings,
Yeah,
and that's a
during the
sticking
day.
point for a lot of
Yeah,
people.
yeah, I can't really commit to, it's monthly or
Once a month,
something,
I believe 9 o'clock on Fridays.
for like hours or?
I think it's 2 hours. I've not been.
Well,
It's in Rochester too, right?
It is.
oh, jeez, killing me here.
I know,
I
I
thought it was up at the county,
No,
No, it's in Rochester.
by the high school in that community.
By the house, high school? It's even further, I thought it was down by,
No, they're
It's
in the
150
Health and Human
Wood Street.
Services resource building next to the high school.
okay.
I might take a spot, but why don't you advertise?
We can have it, there are
Like,
2.
When is the next meeting, do we know?
It's the first Friday of every month. Don't be pressured by that.
So that's next week? Yeah.
Yes, the second, okay.
Can we share a spot, him and I, and then have somebody else?
Or would we have to continually reappoint one or the other of us?
I don't know. I'm sure they would prefer somebody consistent because you're
Yeah.
learning
Then you
about.
have the other person as a consistent one.
Yeah.
See, I could take mornings off instead of the afternoons,
No?
because I have Friday afternoons off, I could take that in the morning. But I
How much do you love planning?
Um,
Don't feel
Well,
like.
well, you know,
Yeah.
though, we can advertise it, but we have to appoint someone to the select board, and that person might be willing to step into it as well, maybe it's not
Right,
someone who
you don't
doesn't
have
work, so let's not point,
You don't have
let's
to
put
address it
something
right
out
now.
there, and then we'll see what we do with the
So in the
select board's
meantime, I'll
position.
plan to go on the second. I'm off that day. I don't think I'm doing anything. Yeah, just to have some,
Would you all like to appoint Miles, and then if it gets to be too much, then
Yeah.
you'll.
Absolutely, and then we'll still put it out there for the second
Okay.
position, so I'll make a motion that we appoint Miles to the Stratford Learning, Stratford Regional Planning
Planning
Commission.
Commission, yes.
guess I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, okay. Good. And then you'll post for a
For the
vacancy.
other, yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Miles.
Oh, sure.
That's
So I should have that to
Public
Oh,
service, New Hampshire, public service?
Yes, so.
Settlement? Oh, I
yes.
saw that.
It's hard to know what to do with this one, which is why I didn't just put it in the board folder, but I thought you might want to think about it. And feel free by all means to ask him to come in and talk to you about it if you want. But
I'm
if
not
you,
really, you know,
if you don't say something, he's just gonna go ahead and do it.
well, he's already doing it.
Well, he's
He already started it, and he said, let me know if you want me to stop. So he's already gone down that. Did you read that one, Miles?
No, I didn't.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
Chad
Chad.
Roberge, on behalf of Avatar, sent a letter to the select board letting them know that he has initiated a mediation essentially with PSNH regarding their property tax abatement that was denied for 2017. So they appealed the denial.
Mhm.
This happened all over the state, that
Right.
they are assessed inconsistently because power lines go everywhere and they want to pay some kind of flat, consistent rate for their properties.
Mhm.
So their abatements got denied in lots of places, and it went to BTLA, and now it's in the courts, and DRA came up with a recommended rate. And that's about as much as I know. It has not been officially settled, it's still in the courts. Chad is suggesting that having it linger in the courts might get expensive. Whereas they may, but he thinks that you would be able to settle it out of court, and he has done that with other communities. So it's just about how much, it might be worth a conversation with him, because
Yeah.
DRA came up with something on one end of the spectrum for how the value should work.
Mhm.
Avatar is kind of on the other end, or kind of in the middle, like toward the other end, but kind of in the middle. And so, what's reasonable?
So it's in the courts, so how would we be hit with legal fees?
Part of
You being
the
part of
class action defense of,
So we would have to pay our portion of the expense for the class action suit. So
potentially.
you're adding your name to the class action suit, which we're not added yet. We haven't signed up to be part of the suit that's in court right now.
Not to my, so we're part of this conglomerate group of towns,
Mhm.
but we have not paid for any legal expenses, and I'm not sure, we have been, I've sent you emails of law firms who are soliciting our
Mm-hmm,
membership in this,
mm-hmm.
and so far we have not
We've done nothing.
done that.
Right.
But that doesn't mean, I don't know how that's gonna eventually work out, that we're gonna benefit from a lawsuit that we're not having to pay for.
See, I mean, if the class action happens and the court makes a decision and it's to benefit the towns, how would we not be part of that, even though we
Well,
haven't paid the legal fees?
Yeah, they take the
yeah.
fees out of the settlement, usually.
Usually, but you still have to, in some form, agree to be part of
Yeah,
a
you have
class
to
action
opt-
suit. So I'm not
I don't know
sure,
if you have to opt in or opt out.
I don't know. So, I would want more information that way. There's definitely parts of this I don't understand.
So what do we stand to gain if we settle?
He had said, he
A
sent.
savings in potential legal fees, because
Oh,
he believes that the settlement might be less expensive than what an ongoing trial might incur in legal fees.
He had a dollar amount though.
I'm trying to make sense of this.
There might be a paper one in the
In here?
board folder. You might find the paper letter in the blue to your right over there.
Sorry,
I think I put it in
let's
there.
see it there.
No. No, it's not there. It's it. His letterhead's yellow.
Did we talk about this back in April?
It's been going on for years, yes.
With Chad?
Oh,
'Cause-
yes.
Okay.
I
so
don't think
What did we
you all-
decide to do well, there's an email I found that says April though, which is saying, It's that HB 700.
Yeah,
That's where they're saying the settlement value is based off of using the HB 700 current draft.
right.
And he thinks it would be in our favor to do a settlement amount. He's saying that he believes the town could settle for all the appeals 4 years with no interest at 35 to 50,000 range. That's not the same thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure he's saying the same thing monetarily.
No, that's. Well, I think bottom line is that we need to have him come in and really kind of explain to us why. But I wouldn't have him come to the one down at the library.
Yeah,
Are we pushing it to go that much longer with him?
Well, we can have him just not go any further until he
Tell him
can
to hold
come
on our
in.
behalf and, yeah.
Or maybe he can write a really explicit email, like to try to explain.
Okay.
yeah, that's just, I don't follow. Well, he's saying that the legal fees could cost us $35,000.
Mhm.
If we settle now, we get somewhere between 7,500 and 26,000.
Mhm.
Is that basically what he's,
That was pretty much, so it was better to settle than it is to be part of the class action, I guess, with 35,000.
yeah, if he can
Well,
just clearly state,
right,
like,
Because,
the
you know,
potential upside and the potential downside.
right, so legal and fees may or may not get you more money. What's the net effect of that?
Right.
And there's no real way to know because
Well, yeah.
you never know how these things are going to work out.
So do you want to see him, or do you want him to be more detailed with a letter to
I
us?
think if he can put it in writing,
And then if you still have questions,
Yeah, we
like
can
when you
come
get
back.
the email, you
Yeah.
can just email me and say, it's not enough for me, and
Okay,
can talk to us.
all right, why don't we do that?
Okay,
And so if you settled, you would come off of the thing that's in the courts right now. that-
Right.
And there are some towns that are doing that,
well, he says that
according to
he's
him, yeah.
successfully negotiated
Yeah.
for some towns.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I'd ask him to
Okay.
better give some of this information. All right. Anything else on that, Miles?
no,
Okay.
good, thank you.
Support of Pony Bridge construction.
So this was about Mr. Lowry's
I
visit.
have no idea what he was even describing. I'm sorry.
On
I'm told-
Rollins,
Tell from
I
this.
can't tell from.
okay,
Good Lord.
on Rollins Road as you're heading toward Genados. So if you are
Which
near
Rollins Road
Turgeon
am I?
Lane, I'm sorry, so
Near
if you're,
Turgeon Lane,
if you're,
yeah.
if you're passing Turgeon and you're
Yeah.
going toward Genados,
Yeah,
you're not, so,
Django.
sorry, Janko, you can turn right on Clement. Don't turn right on Clement, but instead across from Clement, there's a
Oh, I
dirt
know, that's
road
the
there.
Dodge Farm.
Right,
Yes.
that's
Okay.
what he's calling Ham Road.
Oh, okay.
And that road goes all the way behind the house right there.
Right,
Jim
and there's an
Bennett's
old
house.
barn there, or was, long ago.
Back there,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
So if you follow what used to be that road, it goes down to the left, and then way down on the left at the bottom of the hill, over the railroad tracks is a bridge.
Okay.
So if you're coming away from Janko, it's on the right, after that house, that's
Yeah.
by the road, you go down the hill, and on the right, you can see a structure over the railroad tracks.
Okay, so are they proposing to take it down?
No, they want.
Not him, the railroad.
No.
Okay.
They are just not allowing, it's their property.
It's
So-
the railroad's property.
Right.
Okay.
They're not, and, you know, it's very restricted what you can do on and around railroads.
Okay.
And they have not allowed maintenance to it. And so now it's not, it hasn't been passable for quite some time. And now the property owner really wants to renovate it, just replace the decking. It's structurally sound, except for the decking material, and they just want to replace the decking.
Does it goes over the tracks, or?
Yes.
Does
You
it go
go-
up
you-
and over?
Yes.
The train goes under it?
Yes,
Okay.
steps, walkway
Oh.
steps.
Okay, so because it's going over the railroad tracks, the owner of the land, or who wants to fix it, can't because it's
The railroad
going
says
over the
no.
railroad.
Right. Railroad regulates that. And so decades ago, I guess the railroad said there will be no maintenance and you will discontinue the use of the bridge, essentially.
But it's a walking bridge, not a driving bridge.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, it was a cattle, it was a livestock.
Cross over the railroad track. Okay.
Vehicles went over
Vehicles went over? And
it
then,
until they put some, the boys vandalized it a few years back and they put logs over there, so no vehicles can go over it now.
okay.
Hmm.
God, it must be
Go
a
see
big
it.
bridge.
You can't see it very well from the road, but you can tell something's out there.
Yeah, okay. All right, so he's looking to get, what is he looking for? He's
He
looking,
wants a letter of support
What the-
from the town, which I'm happy to draft for you, that
Yeah.
just says, the select board empathizes with the property owner's right to want to traverse both sides of his property on either sides of the railroad. It's a historic structure and you all support his desire to maintain it and ask the railroad to allow for that to happen.
okay, so how would that impact the railroad that they wouldn't allow it for, I
I
mean,
doubt it will have much of a.
It may or may not, it is just the request of the property owner that you issue such a letter. So if you are supportive of that idea, I'll draft the letter and then let you know when it's ready and you can come in at some point and sign it.
and who's the landowner?
Raleigh Tomatoes,
Raleigh Tomatoes. That's inherited property, right?
yes,
So there's nobody that lives on that property?
correct.
Okay, so Raleigh Tomatoes is the one that wants to do this work, so you're saying? On, well, he would be the property owner, so he would be
Yes.
doing it.
Well, not physically doing
No,
it,
no,
he
but
wants it
he would
done.
be paying for it to be done. The town is not under any obligation to pay for that.
No,
He-
they're
he's
not
gonna
looking
do-
for any financial
They're just
support
looking for our support to
over the
allow him to
concept
do it
and
then
for
the railroad.
yes.
Okay, all right.
I'm good with that.
Are you good with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I think that it's a structure worthy of saving.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Do you want to file that in the borough?
That's
All right.
great, I really appreciate that he did that.
Yeah. All right, DMV printer.
So, I didn't see I need to, it's just a placeholder, I haven't followed up with her about where's her purchase order. I did talk to Tom LaBelle,
Mhm.
and the black and white one at Staples for $1,100 is the least expensive
It's cheaper
compliant
than,
option,
it is cheaper than the colored one.
yes.
Not by much though. Still $1,100.
It's not by much, but it is,
It's like $100 and something, but the ink would be cheaper to have
For
just
sure.
black, so.
Yes.
In the long picture of things. Okay, so so until she gets the PO in here,
Yeah.
it's in her hands.
right.
Okay. It's a black and white. Black, I mean, okay. Okay, Comcast long-term contract.
There's no news on that, and it could be removed as far as I'm concerned. It's just about keeping the board informed of any movement from town council. So far, there isn't any, except to say, he was gonna reach out to Mike Gillis, who works for Dover and has experience with Dover, through Dover, about how they manage their Comcast contract. He was gonna do some research through Mike Gillis. Tom LaBelle also indicated in that email that I sent to you today that the town is moving to Fairpoint, rather the school is moving to Fairpoint for its own internet needs. And so he's going to sort of suss out what our internet needs are. The DMV dedicated line is a more intense data load than other facilities, other needs in town. But it may be in a negotiation point,
But
you know.
he had said in that email that that computer wasn't gonna be considered in part of that.
I'm part
Did I
of
miss
what? I'm sorry.
The DMV the DMV computer it wasn't part of that.
Part of
It wouldn't be
what?
part of changing.
Changing.
Did I miss it?
I think you're missing something. So all I'm trying to say is that town council is working on evaluating our Comcast contract, which dates back to the early '70s, so that you can get rather than re-upping it, you can, next year, get a new contract with Comcast. Through that, he's gonna do some research about what other towns and cities are getting through their Comcast agreement and to see if you might want to try to negotiate similar benefits. I think it's notable what Tom is gonna find out about the data requirements for our use of internet here, because it might play into what the town might want to negotiate with, for it to have within that contract, if that makes sense.
That was the Microsoft Office that Andy Peter didn't need.
Yes,
Yeah,
so,
that's-
so.
it was in the
Office
same
is
email, but it was-
yes,
it was a
sorry,
totally different
yes,
thing,
now I
yeah,
understand where
yeah.
you're coming from.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's okay.
so that, yeah, so he's looking into it.
So I will let, town council know that when I know better.
Okay. So you also have to get his information for the fire, library, and town shed. Their usage.
Well, Tom LaBelle's gonna
And
get
he's
all
gonna
that
gather that?
information, yeah,
Okay.
he's gonna gather that and I'll help him gather that.
Okay. All right, but the contract is kind of like, at this point, well, you don't want to sign anything till you decide whether or not you're gonna, because is that all you have? No, you have your phone lines aren't with them, Comcast?
No,
So all you have here for Comcast is the internet?
yes.
All right. Arch Town Hall order request.
So we received an email that Arch would like to have a historic tour, to include the upstairs of this building. It wouldn't be an enormous number of people, it can handle the people. It's just about permission for them to do so and providing access, because it would be on a weekend. So, does the board support the idea of that? And if so, I think between one of the many key holders, we can arrange to make sure it's open.
How many people are we talking about?
I don't know, I've been on a couple of those tours myself, they're never more than like 20, 25 people. You can certainly put a limit on it if you wanna put a limit on it, or we can inquire.
Can we have them sign some sort of waiver absolving us of responsibility? I mean, that's really the only way I would feel comfortable.
Okay.
I
Are
mean,
you concerned because of the condition upstairs?
just because the access to it, and, like, I've been up there and it's scary. I mean, I'm not sure how that would hold up if someone fell through a window, or, I don't know.
Well, I don't, yeah,
It's been a long time since I've been out there, but it was scary when I went out there many years ago.
it's structurally perfectly sound for not a ton of people to walk around. You know, the county came in and, you know, moved a bunch of stuff around and cleared it out, so there's a lot less weight up there now. And it very well accommodated all those county people in addition to that weight without a problem.
Yes.
It's not structurally a problem, it's dirty, it does have a railing going up on both sides.
So, what is that, I mean, is it just a pile of stuff up there that's
No,
just,
it's-
there's nothing up there anymore? You got
It's-
There is
out?
stuff, it's not a lot of stuff. There are some file cabinets that I'd like to have moved down, police bicycles, old cubicles people don't use. There is there's a small room with mostly empty file cabinets and a lot of old files. It is old file storage.
Okay. But out of sight? If it's in another room?
You can certainly shut that
So
door.
they're, they're just going up to look at the auditorium.
To look
Pretty
at the
much as
place
they're
where
going
there were a
across
lot
it.
of functions in town.
Yeah.
I mean, it is part of the history of this community that a lot of things happened up there.
So, want to leave it on the agenda and find out about the liability part of it?
Sure.
Or how many
Well,
people are,
when did they wanna do this, or is there? no-
In August or September sometime.
Oh, okay. so we got,
We got some time.
yeah,
Okay, so we'll leave it on the agenda as well.
I'm generally okay with it, I just wanna make sure we cover our bases.
Sure.
I thought we did the building.
I was just thinking
You
about
did,
myself.
you did, I
Okay.
apologize, I
That's
flew
okay.
through the agenda this
Yep.
afternoon, so yes, building permit schedule is addressed.
Policies, are we at all prepared for them?
I'm not prepared for anything, frankly.
Mhm.
It's Monday, and I just got back. But there are, if you want to, review them,
Well, that's what I was doing when I came in early, but I'm not at all prepared.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
I-
Are you, Miles? or-
No.
Okay.
if you're working
Let's
on them on
pick
your own
one.
and reading them, I think
Yeah.
that's the bigger
Yeah.
work, you know.
Do we wanna like pick one to really concentrate on and then,
And we'll remove the
And
others from the agenda.
well, no,
until-
leave them on there, just let's say, which
Yeah.
one do you really feel is the most important one and that kind of
Well, I
puts a priority to
I
us?
think our
Just-
welfare needs to be adjusted,
not even on
right?
here.
Given,
We can certainly make it welfare.
well, just given that we now don't meet every single week and something might come up.
Well, I mean, that is a point. One of the things about now meeting every other week is addressing the things that are gonna prevent you from sustaining that.
Right.
And welfare will be one of those things.
Okay, so do we have a welfare one? Because that's not one of them that's here.
It's on the drive.
Okay,
So you can look for it on the
We
drive.
actually have an approved welfare policy,
okay.
it just
You
needs
do.
adjusting.
Yes, it's called guidelines, welfare guidelines.
Okay.
Okay.
But yes,
Alright.
it's signed and it's on the drive.
All right, and so then the next one, is it purchasing or Board of Selectmen, in your opinion?
I like Board of Selectmen because it just regulates how you all operate so that there is
Okay.
no, question about that. And I think it would be helpful for whoever the next person is
Okay,
to know what they're,
all right, so we'll start
Okay,
working on welfare as a number one and Board of Selectmen as a number two.
all right.
All right?
Yep.
All right. Okay, town administration, board member activity and updates.
So since we last met, we had a CIP meeting, the police came and presented, not a huge number of asks, but, once we have everything together, we'll, present it. CIP, I think that's all, from the last 2 weeks. And then next week, or this week, there's another CIP meeting, fire and highway and transfer are coming. And then Tuesday the 30th is highway safety. And I think that's it. Coming up.
I had rec last week. Yeah, it needs some work, let's just put it that way, I mean, I think they're doing okay, I think, we're over halfway through, the program. The program itself is good, it's just more about, as we talked about before, how to handle the money and getting things documented and those kind of things. I think we just need some work on that.
Do you need any help with anything?
No, I think they're okay. I mean, she comes once a week to you, right? Are you seeing better with the cash? Better? Please tell me yes.
I wasn't here last week.
Okay.
I don't know if she dropped off cash. You got anything?
I picked up time cards on Friday. I don't know what day she does the cash. I
It's
know-
not consistent, and it's
Oh,
not even
okay.
always the directors, it's been more the assistant director.
Okay.
I
I picked up the time cards and the one invoice there from Melanie late Friday afternoon when they got back from the pool. She didn't say that she had cash to turn in, so I didn't.
What's the cash from?
Their pizza
People buy
sales
pizza
and their
and
snack sales.
snacks,
Yeah.
and any like extra t-shirts or
Yeah,
miscellaneous
it's
money that they
Not
owe.
huge amounts, but, shouldn't be staying in a
Mm.
location for periods of time. So we talked a lot about that, money, at our meeting, making sure that we follow rules and all of that. So we're gonna start working on that, very early in the stages. I'm gonna be working with Dee Friday on budget, their budget, and, you know, just saying that I don't always agree with how they believe that their budget can be spent. I'll just leave it at that, so we can have a conversation about that another time, but,
Yeah, call me and we can talk about that, and
it's actually this right here. I think that they believe that because it's in the budget, they have the right to spend the whole amount, even though it doesn't make sense. If you had 10 people, if you quoted 10 people at $225, but only 5 people are going, and you're still paying $225, I have a problem with that. Because you're paying double the price because you don't have the numbers. This is teen.
I gather.
And they're
that.
saying that it's in
Well-
the budget and it's part of their program, so if you
Well,
get
so
it
the
there
other side of it
correct.
is, you have to be really careful about if people are signing up that they bought X,
Yep,
then you have to provide X.
and that's what they're saying, but I have a problem with that
So-
in one fact. And just, I mean, I wouldn't do that in my own person, I wouldn't pay $44 if I budgeted 22, you know what I mean? Because, per
You-
person, I
well,
wouldn't do that in my own
absolutely.
personal budget, so I consider what I do here is what would I do myself? I wouldn't do that.
I don't disagree with you, but I think it's
But I
something
think
that
that-
has to be addressed for next year.
And those are the things
because-
that we need to talk about, because what they're saying is, because when they planned this event, they were looking at the whole picture. However, on that particular week, on that particular day, there's only 5 students gonna be
Right.
at there versus
So-
13 that they
So
have,
this is part of the,
family obligations or whatever,
So you just cancel it, or no, you can't
Well, you
cancel
can't,
it.
she's telling me, she's saying that they have to do it because it was advertised as being that. But what it should have done is, like before now, they should have probably maybe flipped it to be on another day when they have more kids.
right.
That's
That would
what
be
they,
at the
that's
better
what
day.
that's what
Or-
I'm saying, we need to be a
or
little
only-
more proactive about some of the
Yes, or only
things.
do activities that get priced per each rather than a flat amount, or
Right,
find ways to make it workable,
because
but-
this one, they won't open the doors for less than that price.
I see.
And then we were gonna, offer it to the higher kids in the higher aged kids in Raleigh. But then you gotta supply the support staff to bring those kids, which we can't afford to lose because we only can take 5. So it just,
it doesn't work.
it doesn't work well, it depends how many on that day, but you can't make a guarantee.
I mean,
Because you don't know what your enrollment is gonna be for that day, for your student counselor ratio, for Raleigh,
Agreed.
yeah.
I would say it's part of a rec policy that needs to be created, and
Yeah.
it's part of what I hope that you will talk to, not just one of the co-chairs, but the
Mhm.
whole committee
Right.
about when you're doing budget planning
Right,
for next year.
right,
Because they do have to provide whatever people think they were buying.
mm-hmm,
You don't wanna
and that's
have
what
false
she said.
advertising.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's not revenue neutral if that is still the directive of this board.
Right, right. But and what she said to me is this, we have to do it because we told them we were gonna do it, but I was like, you're paying twice as much by sending half the amount of kids that you would budget.
So I think it could be solved pretty easily if you say I didn't see the literature, but you say, if we get enough people, we'll do these things. Instead of
Right.
blanket, we're taking a trip to the White House, like,
Yeah.
no.
So those are the things that we have to work on as
Well,
a
and
committee
rearranging
for
the
next year.
schedule.
Yeah,
You know, if
or
you're gonna-
rearrange the schedule, so when you have more people in that, on a day, that's when you can do it, because this is a Dover, New Hampshire program. This definitely could be very quickly,
Well, and that doesn't sound like, you're running, like, running a camp for 5 people is, to think about the amount of time and energy, and it's not always 5 people,
No.
it's 5 people for that week, and
For-
and
Or
get-
that day.
Or for that
If it's
day.
that day, not necessarily that week, if it's that day, it's only 5 people. But there's
how many?
13 in team.
Okay, but even still, how many kids are enough kids to go through all of the work that's involved in making the program what it needs to be
Yeah.
and have it run?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not saying that 13 it doesn't qualify,
Mhm.
but I think it's something that the committee and the board really ought to think about,
Yeah.
because it's a lot of work making all of these things happen,
Mm-hmm.
and not just for the, you know, maybe their efforts really ought to be better concentrated on Raleigh that still also needs
Yeah.
some administrative help.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, because their budget, they're coming under budget, so I mean, it's not that they're doing anything wrong, because, I mean, but in this, things like this bother me, you know, that we're paying twice as
So
much to have.
those
to
5
have
kids pay, right, for their,
They all paid for this
It's
event.
part of their tuition.
It's part of their tuition, this event was part of their tuition, so they all paid, just some are choosing not to go. For, who knows the reason.
Yeah.
Could be family vacations, could be whatever.
Well, and you can think of it that way,
Yeah.
that you're really buying 10 tickets and 5 people are choosing not to use them,
Yeah,
if that makes you feel better.
well,
and then it's not
I just
town
have-
money, it's their
yeah,
money.
Well,
But,
yeah.
You know,
But I
Take-
would have hoped that they would have tried to flip it with another program, that they could have had the 10 go,
Yeah.
you know? That's what I was hoping that they would have done. But now they're getting closer to the end of the program, because they're 1 week shorter than Raleigh is, so there's a lot of negotiation, but it's not a surprise either, you know, that they didn't.
well,
have
and
those
is that
numbers.
just because that date really doesn't work for families, or is it because kids are not really excited about
I
that
don't know, I think
event?
she didn't say.
Because that would be a
Yeah.
consideration whether or not they
They wanna
even
do that again next
consider
year.
that next year, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, there's definitely gonna be some improvement on, you know, procedure and discussing trips more in depth about what the cost is gonna be. The Fisher Cat was really, the game.
A mess.
Yeah. We no longer will, I hope we will no longer have something that people have to come up and pay for in addition to.
Right,
It needs to be part of the registration process when you sign your child up and say you want to go or you don't. You don't have to go, but if you don't want to go, you don't. And
But
if
you
do,
pay the
then you
tuition,
pay
it
a part of
includes
it all
whatever.
in one time. They shouldn't be doing that at Raleigh. you
I
know?
just hope that as soon as they're done with their budget, or maybe while some are doing, you know, working on budget, that other people are working on writing their job descriptions for their things that they do for that committee to make
Yeah.
these programs possible, because they've got a lot of work ahead of them
Yeah.
in
I think so too.
writing the program.
But anyway, so that was rec. And we're working on the budget for next year. What else do we have? I think that's all I have. I have budget
This week.
this week, Wednesday night, budget review. I sent it out to them, PDF. And, oh, do you have the revenue?
Revenue is done. I've got Chuck working on making a nicer report out of it.
Okay.
So they're not gonna have it ahead of time, or not very much ahead of time, but I'll get you something that you can provide for them. It's,
Okay.
what's gonna be interesting about revenue, which is always interesting about revenue, is that our budget categories don't match our income categories, and so you have to
Yeah.
add apples to equal oranges.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, it's a discussion point, but I think it's more important that you all can evaluate the income lines, the way that we bring in money, because it's more understandable than miscellaneous revenue. And how is miscellaneous revenue doing, and what does that really mean? Because, you know, that's not a very helpful category,
Right,
for
right.
example, so.
So anyway, yeah, so we'll have to
You'll
try
have
that,
something.
and that's all I have going for this week. So. All right, town administrator update.
It seems pretty clear, given that we're having trouble communicating with the vendor, that the portico is not gonna happen this year. We will try to we're still working on getting a quote so that we can budget for it better for next year.
Okay.
I'm hopeful that we can get at least whatever structurally needs to happen done or separated out so that we can maybe do it more quickly. The vendor indicated that it's structurally a 7 out of 10. It's not gonna fall right this minute, but it's deteriorating and needs some attention in the not too distant future. But he's busy and been largely unresponsive to requests for information and quotes.
Is that money for the portico just designated for a portico?
It's in town hall maintenance. You budgeted for, it was part of your calculation for how you came up with what should go in town hall maintenance, but it is not specifically otherwise earmarked. You can rearrange it if you want to rearrange it, and we can certainly do other town hall maintenance.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is there something that needs to be done or should be?
You're good.
Done by now.
So you turned it on?
Okay. Review of correspondences.
We have a letter from the governor, office of the governor, explaining his position on the budget and
The same one that we were emailed,
Yeah,
right?
I emailed that, and I emailed, the other one is from the legislature about their position on the budget.
Yep.
Yep.
Both wanting your ear.
Yep. I'm not gonna read the whole thing, it's very lengthy, but explains, this is from Avatar, which we've already talked about.
That is a letter from the state wondering if we're gonna do inventories this year.
Oh, okay.
The select board voted not to do inventories last year.
Right,
It can be an annual decision.
okay.
Some towns do it once every 5 years, every other year, never.
So what did our vote say? Was it to discontinue it permanently or to just discontinue it for this year?
Well, it doesn't really matter, because if you wanna do it, you can do it.
Oh, okay.
Because that was a previous board. So, it's really up to you. You can do inventories. It's a fresh
It
decision.
wasn't a previous board, it was us.
Well,
Was it you? Yeah.
it was you
Okay, all right.
can
Yeah, but
still
we can
overturn it.
reenact it if we want to, but as long as,
At any time,
Yeah.
I mean, only once a year, but
Right.
on any year, you can make a different decision.
I would vote no, because,
well, it didn't do anything. I mean,
Right.
it didn't really do anything for us, correct? I mean, that's why
Well,
we decided to,
the penalty,
Well, so you have the revenue from penalties.
the ones who didn't do it.
it's,
And then the administrative cost and postage of sending them out, and you do have to store them forever. They don't ever expire.
oh my god, well,
So what is this asking for?
if we're going to be using Form PA 28 in 2020 or not.
So they need to know, are they mailing us the forms or not?
Okay,
Yeah.
so we need to make a vote on that?
I think we probably should.
All right,
I'll move that we will not use Form PA 28 in year 2020.
I'll second it. All those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Form PA 28?
Yes.
And they'll
So-
send it to us every year.
print
They're gonna send you this letter every year.
Okay.
So who's the assessing official?
You two.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So we'll not, I'll let you sign it.
Oh, this one.
First.
Unless you wanna delegate that, I mean, that's, anybody can be, not anybody, but you can, if you really don't ever wanna do it again, you can delegate for somebody else to, I wouldn't suggest that.
Yeah, I think it should be the decision of who's
Yes.
ever,
Well, because it's still a new decision that you all are not doing it, and somebody could really
Yep.
have different values.
Sure, so I'll just let it come every year. Are you gonna put the town hall's phone number?
I can finish
Okay.
filling it out.
Okay. I didn't know if they wanted my personal one or just.
No,
or
you
the
don't
town
do
hall.
that,
Okay,
don't do
all right.
that, don't do
yeah,
that.
just leave that in the folder. And we have a letter from American Tower, our representative there is touching base. More information about a perpetual easement program, which we discussed last fall.
And decided not to do.
and decided not to do, but she's reaching out to let us know there's still an opportunity. I don't think we need any action on that
Okay.
at this point, I mean, we just made that decision. And that's
Non-public.
it, that's not public, and this
That's
is
the
for
only
our
one,
highway.
yeah.
I think that's it.
Yep, that's it.
Okay. I have a question. Did you go into the MS 535 and sign it? I haven't done that yet. That's the,
Thank you for
for
saying that.
DRA portal?
Yes, I need to
I
print it
didn't do
and,
anything with that, no.
I need to print it and have you all sign it.
Okay, so you need to print it, you don't sign it online in the program, the portal?
No.
Okay.
So what you do is, you go online and you review it, and by all means, review it if you wanna review it.
Do I have a password?
I think you do.
I'll look at my old
But it
emails.
doesn't matter, I mean, I can send it to you so you can
Okay.
review it.
Mhm.
I will print it for you to sign.
Okay,
If you want to change anything, we have to talk to the auditor too, if you find it.
This is his
This is
findings.
his thing.
this is 2018.
Oh,
This is his final report on the
Okay.
financial standing of the town for 2018.
Okay, did you talk to him about the cemetery trust,
Yes,
and what did he say?
it was, I got kind of I don't have a conclusion really to
Okay.
share. The bank balance doesn't match what he thinks it should. However, I spoke to the person who manages that, and they managed it in a way that the Department of Revenue approved for them to manage it, and it has been decided that it's done. So,
But he also indicated that it does match on that email that he sent to us. Not the auditor, but the,
well, right, so I haven't reconciled that yet. I
Okay.
haven't, like, I need to follow up with
Okay.
both of them and find out, you know.
I mean, I just don't wanna get slap on the hand if it's not necessary, if it isn't indeed,
Well, I'd like to understand why
Yeah.
he's saying it doesn't match if it does match, but
yeah.
what I think is the problem is that the person who manages the account is saying that they absolutely did what they were directed to do, and it equals what the outcome, the expected outcome. I think
For
that that's,
2018.
well, I think it was even, goes back to
Or
17.
Right, it was,
Yeah, it was before that. I
yeah, so
think
they
what-
were like a whole year, which shouldn't have been on the audit report then if it was what it should have been.
Well, agreed, and I
Yeah.
think the hiccup is that, perhaps what the auditor, for some reason, might not be aware of what DRA allowed, and, you know, when you multiply things by a number of decimal points or stretched over different years, then you can change the outcome, and you can have more than one acceptable outcome, and they might just be on different pages about what the acceptable outcome was supposed to be.
Okay,
So I will straighten that out and get back to you.
okay, good, thank you. All right. So, oh, I have this one here. I don't think there's anything in this one though.
Those are just bills to approve.
Yeah, I already did. Okay, so we have a purchase order 1661, indoor accent for the rec department for a total of $225. This is indoor climbing center for teen camp.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? I wanna say yes, but I'm gonna say aye. Okay, so that's all we have for correspondences and stuff, right?
Yep.
Okay, community input?
Yeah, when you're talking about tours upstairs, I'd be really careful of the balcony. I know when we went up 2 years ago and helped clean up there, it's pretty weak up in the balcony
Yeah,
area.
that's where it was scary, yeah. I would almost say that we shouldn't let them up there.
Cause you can actually, if you go near the balcony area, you can actually see the road out through the side.
Well, Okay, we have to go into non-public for personnel and welfare.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
I move we go into non-public session for, let's do personnel first.
Yeah, and then we have to come out and go back in and
Yes.
welfare, okay. Okay, so I'll second it, roll call. Miles?
Yes.
Denise, yes. Okay, we are now in non-public, and after our 2 non-publics, we will be going home, so.
Yeah, I asked the gentleman about why he had the house up for sale already. And he said that he has a condition on the house.
We should have done by now.
So you turned it on?
Okay. Review of correspondences.
We have a letter from the governor, office of the governor, explaining, his position on the budget and,
Same one that we were emailed,
Yeah,
right?
I emailed that, and I emailed, the other one is from the legislature about their position on the budget.
Yep.
yep,
Both one in your ear.
yep. I'm not gonna read the whole thing, it's very lengthy, but it explains, this is from Avatar, which we've already talked about.
That is a letter from the state wondering if we're gonna do inventories this year.
Oh, okay.
The select board voted not to do inventories last year.
Right,
It can be an annual decision.
okay.
Some towns do it once every 5 years, every other year, never.
So what did our vote say? Was it to discontinue it permanently, or to just discontinue it for this year?
Well, it doesn't really matter, because if you wanna do it, you can do it.
Oh, okay.
You know, because that was a previous board. So, it's really up to you. You can do inventories. It's a fresh
It
decision.
wasn't a previous board, it was us.
Well,
Was it you? Yeah.
it was 3, well,
Okay, all right.
you can
Yeah,
still
but we can
overturn it.
reenact it if we want to, but as long as,
At any time,
Yeah.
I mean, only once a year, but
Right.
on any year, you can make a different decision.
I would vote no, because,
well, it didn't do anything. I mean,
Right.
it didn't really do anything for us, correct? I mean, that's why
Well,
we
the-
decided to,
the penalty,
Well, so you have the revenue from penalties.
the ones who didn't do it.
it's,
And then the administrative cost and postage of sending them out, and you do have to store them forever. They don't ever expire.
oh my god, well,
So what is this asking for?
if we're going to be using Form PA 28 in 2020 or not.
So they need to know, are they mailing us the forms or not?
Okay,
Yeah.
so we need to make a vote on that,
I think we probably should.
all right?
I'll move that we will not use Form PA 28 in year 2020.
I'll second it. All those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Form PA 28?
Yes.
And they'll
so
send it to us every year.
print
They're gonna send you
page.
this letter every year.
Okay.
So who's the assessing official?
You two.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So we'll not, I'll let you sign it.
Oh, this one.
First.
Unless you wanna delegate that, you know, I mean, that's, you know, anybody can be, not anybody, but you can, you know, if you really don't ever wanna do it again, you can delegate for somebody else. I wouldn't suggest that.
Yeah, I think it should be the decision of who's
Yes.
ever,
Well, because it's still a new decision that you all are not doing it, and somebody could really
Yep.
have different values.
True, so I'll just let it come every year. Are you gonna put the town hall's phone number?
I can finish
Okay.
filling it out.
Okay. I didn't know if they wanted my personal one or just.
No,
oh,
you
the
don't
town
do
hall.
that,
Okay,
don't do
all right.
that, don't do
yeah,
that.
just leave that in the folder. And we have a letter from American Tower, our representative there is touching base. More information about a perpetual easement program, which we discussed last fall.
And decided not to do.
And decided not to do, but she's reaching out to let us know there's still an opportunity. I don't think we need any action on that
Okay.
at this point, I mean, we just made that decision, And that's
Non-public.
it, that's non-public, and this
That's
is
the
for
only
our
one,
highway.
yeah.
I think that's it.
Yep, that's it.
Okay. I have a question. Did you go into the MS 535 and sign it? I haven't done that yet. That's the,
Oh, thank you for
for
saying that.
DRA
Yes,
portal?
I need to print it and,
No.
I need to print it and have you all sign it.
Okay, so you need to print it, you don't sign it online in the program, the portal?
No.
Okay.
So what you do is, you go online and you review it, and by all means, review it if you wanna review it.
Do I have a password?
I think you do.
I'll look at my old
But it
email.
doesn't matter, I mean, I can send it to you so you can
Okay.
review it.
Mhm.
I will print it for you to sign.
Okay,
If you want to change anything, we have to talk to the auditor too, if you find it.
This is his
This is
findings.
his thing.
this is 2018.
Oh,
This is his final report on the
Okay.
financial standing of the town for 2018.
Okay, did you talk to him about the cemetery trust,
Yes,
and what did he say?
it was, I got kind of I don't have a conclusion really to
Okay.
share. The bank balance doesn't match what he thinks it should. However, I spoke to the person who manages that, and they managed it in a way that the Department of Revenue approved for them to manage it, and it has been decided that it's done. So,
But he also indicated that it does match on that email that he sent to us. Not the auditor, but the,
well, right, so I haven't reconciled that yet. I
Okay.
haven't, I need to follow up with
Okay.
both of them and find out, you know.
I mean, I just don't wanna get stuck on the hand if it's not necessary, if it isn't indeed,
Well, I'd like to understand why
Yeah.
he's saying it doesn't match if it does match, but
yeah.
what I think is the problem is that the person who manages the account is saying that they absolutely did what they were directed to do, and it equals what the outcome, the expected outcome. I think
For
that that's,
2018.
well, I think it was even, goes back to
Or
17.
Right, it was,
Yeah, it was before that. I
yeah, so
think
they
what-
were like a whole year, which shouldn't have been on the audit report then if it was what it should have been.
Well, agreed, and I
Yeah.
think the hiccup is that, perhaps what the auditor, for some reason, might not be aware of what DRA allowed, and, when you multiply things by a number of decimal points, or stretch it over different years, then you can change the outcome, and you can have more than one acceptable outcome, and they might just be on different pages about what the acceptable outcome was supposed to be.
Okay,
So I will straighten that out and get back to you.
okay, good, thank you. All right. So, I have this one here. I don't think there's anything in this one though.
Those are just bills to approve.
Yeah, I already did. Okay, so we have a purchase order 1661, indoor accent for the rec department for a total of $225. This is indoor climbing center for teen camp.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? I wanna say yes, but I'm gonna say aye. Okay, so that's all we have for correspondences and stuff, right?
Yep.
Okay, community input?
Yeah, when you're talking about tours upstairs, I'd be really careful of the balcony. I know when we went up 2 years ago and helped clean up there, it's pretty weak up in the balcony
Yeah,
area.
that's where it was scary, yeah. I would almost say that we shouldn't let them up there.
Cause you can actually, if you go near the balcony area, you can actually see the road up through the side.
Well,
Yeah.
all right. All right, anything else? No? Okay, We have to go into non-public for personnel and welfare.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
I move we go into non-public session for, let's do personnel first.
Yeah, and then we have to come out and go back in and
Yes.
welfare, okay. Okay, so I'll second it, roll call. Miles?
Yes.
Denise, yes. Okay, we are now in non-public, and after our 2 non-publics, we will be going home, so.
Yeah, I asked the gentleman about why he had the house up for sale already. And he said that he has a condition on the house.